There you go.
Whereas your fruits and vegetables and your unprocessed grains and help to promote more of a moderate impact on your mood, but more of a lasting effect.
Hello to Through a Therapist's Eyes. You found us on a strange day. We're recording on Monday, December the 19th. We're fitting in an extra show because we've had crazy holiday schedules, sicknesses all around. As you guys realized, last week, Casey wasn't able to join us again. It's been, boy, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's a crazy time of year, isn't it? So this is Through a Therapist's Eyes, episode 10. I'm really excited about this episode because I think that I personally have been wondering for a long time about a topic of nutrition and your mental health. And honestly, I don't think many people can really talk about this issue on a depthy level. And I have found somebody, my own dietitian, Miss Cyrilla Purnell, is with us. She agreed to join us, and I'm going to tell you about her in a bit. But she knows like a lot about food. This is going to be a fantastically informative show. So I'm super excited about it. So this is where you get insights from a therapist, and in this case today, a dietitian as well, while having personal time at home or in your car. But please know it's not the delivery of therapy services in any way. We have the book out, Re-Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. The new book, did you know I'm writing a new book?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's on marriage.
How wonderful.
I know, right? And you're writing a book too, right?
I am writing an ebook. Does that count as a book?
Absolutely. And we need to talk when the mics are off. Why not a regular word book? Just ebook? What is that?
Well, maybe it'll turn into that.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need to talk. That's cool, because I just recently found that out. And what's the title of the book? I think I wrote it down here. But
Nourishing Bodies, Brains, and Minds. Every Bite Counts.
That is super cool. Yeah, that is super cool. So she even wrote a book, guys. Anyway, what else? We do have, I wanted to highlight the Redbubble stuff, Neil. We got some purchases. This is the Christmas season for gifts. But dang, we kind of missed the boat on that, didn't we? So, because when's this come? Yeah, he's got the grin on his face. This will come out probably after Christmas. Bummer. But for all those people that you forgot to buy gifts from, hit the website. We've got awesome Through a Therapist's Eyes stuff. We're going to be getting the quotes and things that we have on the show that are pretty neat. Hats, T-shirts. I don't know what else we got out there. I haven't talked about this for a little while, Neil. We got a jigsaw puzzle that's got the, we figure this thing out together. So a lot of cool things. If you check the merch button on the website, contact at Through a Therapist's Eyes is also how you get with us. So Cyrilla, I like to say this is the human emotional experience, and we're going to endeavor to figure this thing out together. You down with that?
Absolutely.
I hope so, because we started, right?
That's right.
No turning back now. So, all right, check this out, guys. She is a bona fide registered dietitian who's the Director of Research and Program Development for Aspire Integrative Wellness, AIW. We have all these letters in all of our professional fields. Like, what does AIW even mean?
Aspire Integrative Wellness. It's just the abbreviation.
I guess I should have figured that out. Okay, the world's hearing my stupidity, but that's okay. And I think it's cool. I found out that you have a BS in zoology. How cool is that?
Absolutely.
You were interested in animals?
It's just the study of animal life, not as much biology. Or plant life. So just animal life.
So was that originally part of your interest in nutrition and food and such, or just sort of a happen chance?
Some people call it pre-med. So I knew that I wanted to do something that supported health.
Okay, so pre-med in dietitian world is zoology?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How cool is that? Okay, I never would have thought that. That's awesome. So she got the zoology degree from NC State University. Quick story about NC State. When I was new to North Carolina, I walked into a bar, my wife and I did, and we heard these crazy people, and they were all cheering. You've probably heard this. in the football games, it's NC State. And the whole bar yelled, NC State. I was like, whoa, what world did we just walk into? Have you ever yelled that cheer? I'm so glad I like you even more. But it was cool for them. She also has a master's degree in public health and nutrition from UNC Chapel Hill. Have you ever said their cheers?
No.
I'd like you even more now.
I went to the games. I just didn't go to bars when I was in college. So.
Well, they do the cheers, I guess, at the games. She has an integrated approach supporting the health and minds and the body to promote optimal health and well-being. So you're interested in mindfulness practices. They establish a better relationship with food, which is one of the approaches that I love that you take, is a whole relationship with food and wellness. Not, well, we'll get to the mindset that people get into that just take people, I think, in a completely different direction than what we probably need to be. But encouraging body positivity and instilling a balanced approach to nourishing our body and our brain. As you said, look out for the book, Nourishing Bodies, Brains, and Minds. Every Bite Counts. I love the subtitle. Gotta give props there. And what's cool, honestly, is if you Google her name, Cyrilla Purnell, you will find that she has done and is in several clinical studies and everything. Is that true?
Yes, we're conducting some clinical studies on the approach of mindfulness and counseling practices.
See, I think that is so cool because I love you research people. I can't stand research. I've never been big into it. I hated the labs class in school and all the stuff. So I just love learning from people like you that love to do the research. Now, is that a passion for you? That
I've always been, well, back in college, I participated in research studies at the General Clinical Research Center and with the entomology department and other departments as well. So I do enjoy research.
I love that. And particularly when there's words that I don't even know what they mean, and I can learn from people with this. So seriously, clinical studies and different trials and different things that you've been involved in, like this is going to be great. She has an interest also in herbal medicine and yoga and meditation and promoting, what Aspire's team is doing. It's really, really awesome. I'm so glad that you're joining us to spend some time with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm also going to say this is my personal dietitian. I have started to work with you, and y'all are in for a lot of really good information because how long has it been? What, like 2-3 months or so? Is that so?
It's been about 3 months.
Yeah, I have learned more about food in 3 freaking months than I think I've ever known in my entire life. Like that's totally, like, I'm not making that up. That's awesome. So you do a lot.
I'm glad you've learned some stuff.
I learned a lot.
You've been doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been trying. I even got new water drinking cups. I've never drank it with rosemary in there, but
how does it taste?
Oh, like rosemary, and I love rosemary. So part of what I'm learning is you got to figure out your own tastes, your own likes, your own dislikes, and maybe that's the first question I'll fire at you. Like, how unique is a person's body and tastes, and how important is that in your relationship with food?
Well, I think that person's likes and dislikes have a lot to do with their relationship with food. I mean, it can definitely create different cravings and different ways that people choose to eat. So,
and how do they change over time? Because, I was thinking about that. Well, I'll tell a quick story, which is weird, but I'm going to do it anyway because, it was a personal experience very recently. Like I've changed a lot of the way that I eat. And I think we develop cravings and we develop things that we like, with sugar and carbs and a lot of the additives that are out there about food and everything. Well, you've got me really focused on how can I eat more vegetables and fruit and all those cool things that I've learned from you. And I went, I think I told you about this, didn't I? Because I went to a Mexican restaurant and I had the buffet. And it was fine. I had salad stuff. That's what I wanted to start with. I swear I did not eat that much. But like my body's adjusting to not having like as much of the meats and then the different things that I would eat that would be like breaded seafood and all that kind of stuff. So do you remember what did I not tell you about that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So how does your cravings change and how do you formulate your palate with the choices that you make and how impactful is that?
Well, it certainly makes sense that the more high nutrient density foods that you incorporate, like fruits and vegetables, into your diet, the less you're going to be craving other foods that in place of that. So when you're going to be a person typically will crave less sweets and processed foods when they're eating more really nutritionally dense foods, and not just fruits and vegetables, but also low-fat meats and high-quality unrefined grains and leafy green vegetables and nuts and seeds. All of those things really help to decrease cravings of other foods that are maybe not so nutrient dense.
And I think there's a big piece of the choices that you can learn to make. And when you look at, and we'll talk about our relationship with food today for sure, like I feel like people do not feel very empowered with their food choices and their nutrition and wellness altogether, that because of feeling the disempowerment, we're just stuck to eat whatever the hell is in front of us. Like the foods that are just regularly available, and we learn from restaurants and this type of thing that are probably not great choices and lessons. I mean, is that a fair statement?
Well, I think that the foods that we choose, we can be very empowered through food to take control of our health, and empowered by food to have better energy and to be able to contribute the best of ourselves and at work and at home and have more endurance and less sick days. I mean, all of those things we can do by empowering with food. It helps us to feel like we're more in control of our health. But I think that it can be disempowering for people when they're not feeling those benefits. And they can feel like there's almost like discouraged when they're constantly craving foods that are not good for them. But if just taking those steps and eating like you've done, eating more fruits and vegetables and seeing the results of how much better they feel and how their food cravings tend to change as they improve their diet. But may I say that also that craving food there's nothing wrong with that. And we should allow ourselves the foods that we do crave, even if they're not always on the healthy list.
I like that you said that because I heard this before, and I've always taken it with me, that whenever I feel sick or ill of some sort or something's coming on, I will really just let my body, I will tune into my body. I've always been able to do that part. And whatever it is that I'm really wanting, I'm going to go ahead and let myself have. And I don't care if that's chocolate or whatever it might be. I feel like my body's sick and it's telling me what I really need, and that's totally okay to listen to. I'm so glad you said that way.
Yes, we should trust our bodies, but at the same time, do question, why am I craving this right now? Because sometimes that can lead to some insights that can help us to make better choices for our overall health.
Oh, now we're getting into some cool therapy stuff. What types of things in your... Because actually, well, let me back up. I'd like to... That's an awesome segue. So I'd like to set people up because I did not know that this is a relationship that you can have, this professional relationship with a dietitian that I have very pleasantly found to be very much like a therapy relationship. This is why I joked. I think we're on the Facebook thing, right? Like, you have to protect my confidentiality, but I could tell the world that I'm working with Cyrilla with my new dietary needs and nutrition and all, because it really very much is, in many ways, would you agree, like a therapy relationship?
And more so growing, I believe, to be like that as dietetics expands and we have a further, more growing knowledge of all of the ways that diet is impacted by our lifestyle and how we think about food and social media. And
it's just so much, isn't it?
Yes.
Like
yes.
brainwashed in so many ways. We'll talk about the food industry, but I mean, so is this new, like sort of a new dynamic in your field where you're able to work individually with people? Because I guess before, I had a client refer me to you. It was cool. And session came up, and I was like, oh my God, cool. Like, you're doing what with you? And that's the way I found you guys. So when I think of a dietitian, I think of like, working in a hospital or different food plans with the schools, or I don't know what kind of jobs I had before. How new is this sort of individual therapy type relationship to really work on your nutrition?
Well, I know that intuitive eating has been around for 20 years. So,
okay.
I mean, I would say relatively new. I think that the concept of really developing a person's relationship with food and helping a person to accept their bodies and is constantly evolving. This whole concept of working with clients has probably been going on for as long as dietetics has been around. But
Which has been how long?
Oh, dietetics, nutrition. My goodness. Well, ever since probably, like, I don't know. I mean, I would have to guess at least the 50s or the 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, we didn't really know anything. And I know my mental health field is new. Mm-hmm. We didn't really fire up until around the turn of the century. Not this past one, but the one before. But even then, if you think about it in the history of man, like, even psychology is pretty brand new. And this is like super brand new, it sounds like, over the course of the last 20, 30 years. Well, before I forget, I want to make sure that you guys know how to find Cyrilla Purnell and Aspire as well. They are in Charlotte, North Carolina. Is it okay if I put the phone number out?
Sure.
You can find her at 980-296-0044, and that is Aspire. They got how many people? Aspire Integrative Wellness employs. You have like 5 different clinicians and such.
I say about 30.
Oh my gosh, you guys are huge! Wow, 30 people in the Charlotte area, or is it a multi-city organization?
Well, we throughout North Carolina and Georgia.
Oh, okay, mm-hmm. Very cool. I did not know that. So let's get back to where you were then. So you had said, which I think is a big area of thinking about the correlation between nutrition, our diet, and our mental health.
Yes.
The reasons why people eat. We stepped off on that tangent there with mm-hmm. Pay attention to your palate. Pay attention to your cravings. Because there's also sometimes when if you ask that question, why am I eating what I'm eating? What do you find there when you're working with people as it relates to like the emotional things that are there, the feelings that go into this? This term, I eat my feelings. How many people fall into that trap? I told you the term TV hungry, right? I get TV hungry. Kevin, my neighbor, taught me that. Hey, Kevin, shout out to you. We sit down and we have an emotional experience of boredom or TV. And so there's lots of things like that. So I would imagine you have to work with that.
Yes, I think that people eat for different reasons, and all of the reasons are valid reasons to eat. But I think that certainly when people are experiencing stress or or varied emotions that can lead to ups and downs is going to affect people's eating. So it can actually cause people to increase their appetite, or it can cause people to decrease their appetite.
Right.
But certainly nutrition and mental health do go hand in hand. And I think this is something that oftentimes people really haven't recognized in the past. I think many people do attribute nutrition and nutrition status to physical illness, but not necessarily as much to attributing it to mental health and how we feel about food. Yeah.
So, as you were talking, I was just thinking about this is in part, I don't know if you realize this or not, but in part, this is diagnostic in our field. Like when a clinician's sitting down, this is one of the things that we ask about. And we know that when people enter into depressed state, one of the symptoms is your anxiety or your appetite goes up, and then it'll go down. Just like your sex drive will go up or down with various conditions in mental health. So the relationship is just hand in hand, right?
Yes, it is. And also medications can affect the way that a person approaches food. And sometimes it can increase their appetite or make them crave certain different types of foods like sweets.
Carbs.
Yeah, carbs. Let me see.
Finger food or comfort food, right? I mean, this is the level that I think about on it, right? Like, the big point here with this little segment is the emotional connection between what you eat, whether it's destructive or productive, is a key thing, like with grief and loss. When you're grieving, your appetite and your choices probably go in all sorts of directions. So what does a dietitian do? Like, it's just so curious to me how you guys kind of work together, the mental health realm, the emotional realm in your counsel and teaching with people when they're really trying to look at their health, particularly like in obesity or serious medical problems that come on. Like, how does that get incorporated together?
Well, so oftentimes when I'm working with a client that has emotional obstacles that they're trying to deal with in relationship to food, I will refer them to a mental health provider as well, yes. Because they can really help to employ the depth that I don't necessarily always go in the same avenue. So it really does help to have that support. But at the same time, when I'm working with a client that it really depends on where their obesity or their challenges with food could be coming from, because a lot of times we'll begin by helping them to improve their relationship with food by incorporating like mindfulness tools. Mm-hmm. And that's
a buzzword everyone talks about nowadays.
It really is, right? A very common buzzword that's on the tip of everybody's tongue, and it's everywhere that you turn and see. But in the application of improving a person's relationship with food, it can really help to make food a lot more enjoyable. And when a person's tuning into their senses and working through and using all of their senses and using the mindfulness tools when they're eating, that a better relationship with food can evolve. It helps to tune them into their hunger cues and their fullness cues and so many different ways that they notice the way their body interacts with food.
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting to me to see and experience you thinking through the correlation between stuff that I talk about all day long. Feelings, emotions, trauma-based experiences in life and what that does in the interaction with your nutrition, and whether you're eating away stress or trying to feel better in some sort of way, and then the negative self-image that we get created, the insecurities that are there, whether that helps us to eat more destructively or productively. There's a lot going on in our relationship with food.
Yes, there is. And I know recently you did a podcast on self-acceptance. And that's another
yes.
thing that that I, as a dietitian, work on with my clients. And a lot of the self-acceptance can come through doing some of this deep work and reestablishing your hunger and fullness cues, and really experiencing food on all the different levels with your senses.
So let's talk a little more about food. What's your favorite food? I have to ask. Can I put you on the spot?
Oh, you're asking me today, so I'm going to say sushi today.
Oh, you're a sushi eater.
But it changes every day.
It changes every day?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
I
How's that
love
possible?
all food.
Really?
I don't think maybe there's I can't think of any food that I don't like or that I don't eat.
That is so hard for me to understand. There's nothing that you don't like?
I like it all.
Wow. See, my favorite food is lasagna. When we were kids, my mom would always let us choose the meal that was the big thing. Like, this is your birthday meal. So what do you want for supper? One year, my lovely sister picked crackers.
For her birthday meal?
Yes.
Oh, are you serious?
So we had crackers with peanut butter and crackers with jelly, and we had some with cheese on them, and it was just, I don't know, jams and different things. So we had, that was her birthday.
That's
meal,
fabulous.
crackers.
I'm using that one year.
But mine was always lasagna. So you don't have a go-to food that is your favorite. You just have explored all these and enjoy them all.
Yes. And I love a variety of cuisine. I think that I appreciate variety the most, more than any one specific thing.
What are those stinky fish? What Neil, help me out. What's the stinky fish in a can?
Sardines?
Sardines. Okay, you
love
eat sardines?
Those.
Oh my God, you do not eat sardines.
Especially fish with bones. I love.
Ah, okay.
It's very hard to find those now.
It kind of is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So part of the reason why I ask in that way is, I feel like you have such a healthy relationship with food.
Thank you.
And our listeners, that's my impression, for what it's worth. Yes, you're welcome. And is it fair to say that I think a lot of people in my mental health realm that I'm working with do not have a healthy relationship with food? Is that a fair statement on my part? That's one of the things that I fear about it.
Yes, I actually have some notes on that.
What do you got on that?
I think that looking at how nutrition and mental health directly affect each other is so important. And we really need to appreciate that concept, because as nutrition directly affects mental health. We know that through studies.
Yeah,
we
I want to hear about that, by the way.
How so many, all the macronutrients and so many vitamins and micronutrients directly affect our mental health for so many reasons. But so as a person experiences a lack of appetite or a change in nutrients that they're taking in, it can affect their mental health. And then their mental health can affect maybe it changes or decreases their mental health. And then a decrease in mental health can cause a decrease in the type of nutrients.
Builds,
and
doesn't
it becomes
a
very
steamroll.
Yes, that's what I'm trying. So good, you're understanding me.
Yes,
okay.
I am. Yeah,
and it really needs to be a cycle that the medical community can help them with. And there are new applications with nutritional type of therapies that research is starting to expose as viable options for helping with that.
Okay, I want to hear more about that for sure. So we're going to go off into like what that area is. Before we do, let me circle back around though to because I don't want to lose that thought. Having a healthy relationship with food versus having a, I don't know, should we say dysfunctional relationship with food or an unhealthy relationship with food? Maybe put it that way. What would an unhealthy relationship with food look like that we want to try to sort of correct or fix or manage? Is that a weird way of thinking about it?
I would say that one of the things that we really have to be most careful for to promote a healthy relationship with food is to not instill guilt or shame around food.
Right.
Yeah. And certainly, even those dietary supplements are not a substitute for eating a well-balanced diet. For a person that really just can't eat and doesn't feel like doesn't have an appetite, I think that taking some nutritional supplements would help with that, with them to get the appropriate nutrients that they need until their appetite can increase. But I feel like that when you talk about a healthy relationship with food.
So now you turn it around and look at like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think that certainly having a positive relationship with the way that their body image, they feel about their body.
Oh, so important, isn't it?
Yes. And how they interact with social media and the influencers on social media.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yes, and what they allow themselves to expose themselves to. So certain people have to be eliminated from the feed, certain influencers and images. And
not naming any names.
And I don't even really know any because I don't.
You're not going to give them any mind.
But
so shame and guilt and these feelings, again, the intertwined mental health and emotional connections, stress and stress eating, those are some of the things I would have anticipated or thought, and it sounds like I was on point. Because, it's so emotional eating, isn't it?
It is. I mean, from day one, from when we're born all the way through our life, eating is an emotional experience.
Like, I'll tell you real quick as a little bit of a side note, when you want to look at relationships as well, people get so worried is another one of those words, right? Feeling guilty and shame and these things that come up emotionally. When you're breaking bread with somebody, you're making an inroad to a bond there that is an important step in relating to people. And I know this in part because of what I experienced in doing in-home family therapy work up in the Raleigh area, the UNC area, your area with Chapel Hill. I was working with an in-home family therapy company there. And I learned from a supervisor, and he was just experimenting with it, and we took pizza prep food to these kids in the family that we were working with. And before you do that activity, and then after is completely different relationship, not only with your food, but also with the person you're relating to. Like, it's so emotional. So we took pizza prep stuff and we cut the vegetables up together, and we had fun deciding. It's like, well, I want this on this piece and I don't want this on this one, and I'll take some pepperoni, and I want like onions. Oh, this person doesn't like onions. And so we're cutting, we're chopping, we're working the pizza together, and we make it, and then we sit down and we eat what we created together. What a community activity. Like, your ability to do family therapy with that family has just gone to a whole nother level because the relationship is there. So it's not only with food, but it's with each other, isn't it?
It really is. I once heard a quote that in some areas of the world, they don't say, what did you have for dinner. They say, "Who did you eat with for
Oh,
dinner?"
okay.
And
Yeah.
even pets can be a very important part of community. And some people that don't have an opportunity to eat with others
Can eat with their pets, yeah.
can eat with their pets, or even just virtually having dinner with a family member
Absolutely.
increases community as well. But
we need
it's
that in the COVID environment, where it's better now, but still around the world. I know different sectors are still struggling with the isolation. This is the way out of that. I was laughing because you've got me eating a bunch of vegetables and stuff a lot more than I did before, which is good. So I'm chopping up the vegetables. And you know what happens when I'm chopping up the vegetables? My little puppy dog
Right.
comes into the kitchen because she knows, like, oh, what you got? What are you having? Because I'm going to give her. I don't give my dogs people food. I never have. I've always been like frustrated with that. I feel like they should eat dog food. People eat people food. But my dog loves vegetables, Cyrilla.
really.
He loves them.
Oh, I'm so glad your dog's not disappointed.
Oh my God, she eats the cabbage that I've been killing this week. Red cabbage, I chop it up in bites for her. She eats the carrots, and she loves cauliflower and the broccoli. Like, my dog is a vegetable eating beast. Isn't that
That's
funny?
fabulous.
It is, and it's got to be good for them too, I would imagine, right?
I think it is, and sweet potatoes too for dogs.
Oh, I haven't done the sweet potato thing. Although, no, I have done the what is the squash you got me going on?
Oh, the butternut squash.
Butternut. She loves butternut squash too.
Good for her. Wow, and good for you. That's gonna just make her live longer.
She is so happy. She gets to have vegetables when I'm in the kitchen now. Okay, so let's go to a segment where we got away from, because I wanted to get to that relationship stuff. But okay, how do I set this up? I would love to hear all about, like, how does what we eat and our relationship with food directly affect my mood, right? Like, I don't
Yes.
find many people can answer me that question in a way that makes sense with just nutrition and pick-me-up. I mean, I understand on the level, if I'm tired, I drink caffeine and I get a boop. All right, a boop. That's a thing. I don't know, a bump. I meant to say bump, but a boop came out.
I got you.
So what is this? How can we direct, like, if I'm anxious, can my food directly affect that? If I'm depressed, can my food directly affect that? If I go through a loss in my life, my dad just died, and I'm wanting to influence my body with my food, can I really do that?
You absolutely can. And we can go a couple of different routes here because it's such a multidimensional question.
Yeah, I know. I'm
But
sorry.
if I was really to listen carefully to your question, and you said, how can I directly affect? Like, I'm thinking directly, and I'm associating that kind of with immediately.
Oh, good point.
Okay,
Yeah.
but there are also ways that we can affect our mood and our mental health and our brain health with more, not as immediate. Like,
Yeah.
for example, so immediately by eating carbohydrates, for example, can lead to very immediate results with our mood.
With our mood.
Yes. So all the
Happiness,
macronutrients, the fats, carbohydrates, and proteins directly affect our mental health and our mood for a multitude of reasons. In vitamins and minerals as well.
Is that why we fall into stress eating to get the comfort foods?
Yes,
It
because especially with carbohydrates
Yeah.
and low glycemic. So yes, it's.
Oh, this is where we get
I
to
gotta
the
check.
stuff that is going to blow my brain apart.
But what I do want to say also that that supporting the microbiome and eating a well balanced diet that supports a very high quality and diverse population in your microbiome is more of a lasting way to support your mental health.
Okay, let me
as well.
frame this up here, because I got to keep it simple, Cyrilla, otherwise my brain will be blowing apart.
I know.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is the more immediate component is paying attention to what our bodies experience with, like, carbs and sugar and things that we might be drawn to kind of for that immediate response. And I think we all naturally do that. Probably fall into, is that bad, by the way? Is that bad or not good? Bad, good, bad?
I just think we have to be mindful of the types of carbohydrates that we choose.
Okay.
Because sugars and carbohydrates, like the processed carbohydrates, cause more of an immediate but short-term mood effect.
There you go.
Whereas your fruits and vegetables and your unprocessed grains and help to promote more of a moderate impact on your mood, but more of a lasting effect.
Gotcha. Okay. So the second part of this is beyond the immediate impacts, what are the long-term implications? And this is where I'm going to get lost. So this is where you're going to have to keep it simple for me. But the biome you're talking about, the micronutrients, having a sustained practice with your nutrition, like this has a moderate but much more sustainable impact in your experience with depression, sadness, like insecurities, frustration tolerance. Like, does this directly influence those kind of things?
I haven't read studies that will help a person process grief through high quality nutrition.
Okay.
I certainly don't know about, but I do know with certain types of depression and mood in general, that having a high quality, very high nutrient dense, varied diet is going to help to support a person's mental health. And it's going to help to support a very high population in your microbiome that is diverse. And the microbiome actually, in studies, has proven to influence the way a person thinks, right, and their behavior and their moods. So,
do we know how?
Well, there's a certain.
And what is microbiome? You lose me on that.
Yes, I'm sorry. So the microbiome.
Well, I got a simple brain over here.
is made of bacteria and fungi that live in the human gut.
No, I don't want any fungus in there.
And we'll just say the microflora.
Okay, that's better.
That live in the human gut, and they actually directly communicate with our brain.
Well, I've heard the gut is the second brain. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of that expression?
Because there's a gut-brain axis where they directly communicate through hormonal, through chemical, and through inflammatory processes. And so the microbiome is actually the part of the gut that is doing the communicating.
Say that again with more. The microbiome is the part of the gut that's doing the communicating with your brain.
Yes.
Supposedly including the limbic system, which we do talk about on the show more. Do we know how that happens? What is that?
It's through the hormonal, through the chemical, and the inflammatory signals that are bidirectionally being communicated between the gut and the brain.
Okay. Oh my God, that is so fascinating. All right, let's figure this out together. Because as I'm listening to you, here's something that I'm thinking about. And I'm curious how you would receive this, right? So you said you're not aware of any studies that change the way people grieve, which is just one emotional issue, probably of many issues in, life, our life's journey that we come across. I am betting that people that have this varied nutrition, positive, what do you call it, gut biome? Oh, I'm going to sound so smart if I can learn how to say these things. I said it right? Cool. Eating the rainbow, you've taught me. I've never heard that expression before. I know I live under a rock. Mm-hmm. But when we develop, when we develop these things, right?
I'm taking on you.
When we develop these things, I would make a wager with you that when you then later experience a gut punch, like your favorite aunt dies, that folks, how can I put this? Would it be that folks that have a well-varied nutritional experience, could we develop a hypothesis, and then you go do the research with it and let me know a year from now, whether or not people like that are much more sustainable during the mental health crisis, much more engaged in wellness during mental health crisis, versus people that are struggling with that, have a lot of carbs and short-term benefits and stress eating and all of that. When they come across a mental health crisis, that we would see a difference.
Well, I guess grief aside, because that's just a process all its own, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But certainly I think that stress in general, any kind of stress, is going to affect your gut health, and so certainly eating a varied diet that's high in nutrient density is going to help to support the health of your microbiome. Therefore, they directly know that is going to support your mood and your mental health.
Now, okay.
Oh, yeah, I want to tell you one more thing.
Awesome.
So stress, they know, they've seen in studies that, I don't know where my notes are on it, but they've seen in studies that stress directly affects digestive disturbances like IBS.
Oh, absolutely. We know this. I know this personally.
In a high percentage of patients, when a person has stress, they're going to experience digestive disturbances and complain of that. So certainly by supporting during times of stress with probiotic supplementation and things like that, not things like that, like also eating a high quality diet is going to really help a person through those stressful times to be able to, like you were saying, to be able to have recover from those stressful times faster.
So the hypothesis we would expect, I bet so. And that probably hasn't really been tremendously researched. Is that a fair assessment? Like I would wonder about double-blind studies and people would eat this way or that way, and how we would understand that.
There have been a lot of studies that have been done, but there's so much room for more to be learned.
And are those studies driven by the food industry?
Well,
use my diet, keto
maybe.
nuts, low carb, whatever. I can't even speak intelligently about the different diets. The sun-dried diet. What are the different things that are out there? I just suck at this world. But are these studies influenced by them?
I haven't read to see who's influencing most of this research, but I think that most of it is being done by like the neuroscientists. And,
okay. Really?
Yes, I think that a lot of this emerging field, they've become more and more curious about the relationship between nutrition and humans' neurology and their brain chemistry.
I think the key word there has got to be emerging.
Yes.
This is very emergent. Not emergency, but this is very... I'm sorry. I feel like this is cutting-edge new stuff. Like, I think that we're really getting out of the food industry's research level, and because I know you're doing research now.
Yeah.
And you are not influenced by, Keebler elves making their cookies and you doing research for Keebler. Like, are there a lot more people doing this kind of stuff that we can trust?
Absolutely. I mean, I have been listened to workshops and podcasts by very reputable scientists that have been doing probiotic research, and the stuff that is coming out of this research, the knowledge that's coming out of this really is remarkable. In fact, they're even showing that probiotics, specific types, can be used for wrinkles. I mean, they're the types of results and things that they're finding about the impact of of probiotics is quite astounding.
Even better than Botox.
In fact, they did this one thing. Oh, probably not.
Yeah. Oh, well, I tried.
But they did this one study where they introduced the probiotics from the intestines of depressed people into animals.
Intestines, you said?
Yes, like the fecal matter that contains the bacteria from depressed humans, and they put it into rodents.
Oh,
and the
gosh.
rodents actually showed that they became
Depressed.
Yes, it altered their mood. So truly,
Holy cow.
when I tell you that the population and the diversity in that population of the microbes that live in your gut directly affect your mental health, it's been time and time again
That blows
shown
my brain
in
apart.
clinical
That's
studies.
amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. That's okay. I just got to take that in because there's all of the micronutrients and basically crap that we eat that leads directly to depression. And in this study that you're familiar with, they took that and basically depressed the hell out of rats by placing that somehow in them, and they monitored the rat behavior. That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. That was one of the studies.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't imagine you're going to be able to answer what was in it. Like high carb content, high sugar content. Do we know?
What they were examining was the microflora, the population of microflora that was living in the person's gut when it was placed into the animal's intestines. That particular microflora created a depressed mood.
Wow.
So the way that you can actually rejuvenate and repopulate and restore the gut.
Okay, here's a good question.
Yeah, there's ways that can be that research has actually shown can lead to restoring the microflora in a person's gut.
And that I know a little bit about, right?
Oh, good.
Like yogurt, you get. I know it's going to sound crazy, guys, in the listening world, but I will use like vinegar and put that in water, and I know that helps with gut functioning. We know like the fatty acids. Everyone talks about fish oil and gut health, right? So these probiotic influences in our microbiome improves our gut health, and we're finding directly leads to stabilizing in a moderate way over the long term your experience with depression. Did I say all that right?
Yes. But it's like almost like the microbiota has a mind of its own, and it actually communicates with the gut and does improve the health of the gut. In addition, not just the foods that we eat, but also many lifestyle factors contribute to our microbiome and the health of our microbiome. And this has been shown in studies: improved sleep, improved exercise, having more exercise, and controlling our stress are certainly huge, important factors in conjunction with having a very varied and healthy diet, and also probiotic supplementation.
So the reason why I'm glad you said that is because I was, it's funny because I think that when I last tried to do a nutrition guest on the show, it was Dennis from Health Smart. And one of the things we talked about with the ideas of Western medicine and such, and I don't mean to crash on doctors in medicine, Western medicine, on Far East guys do great stuff, and medications are important. We've increased our lifespan to like 80 years old or whatever. Like a lot of good stuff. I don't want to hear interpretation of crashing on doctors. Doctors are great. Our medicine has helped us a lot. However, I think we missed the boat And what I mean by that is around the world, not so much in the States, but around the world, one of the first questions that doctors will ask is, any idea?
What did you eat for breakfast?
I wish that would be it. I wish that would be it.
What do they ask?
They ask, what is your exercise regimen?
Oh, okay.
Right? And they want to take your exercise plan, and that's the first line of treatment. That's the first line of treatment, not a freaking pill. Okay? That's the main point. And I wonder if it's reasonable to say a reasonable best practice to be developed around the world would be probably second. No offense, Cyrilla, but probably second. Maybe first, but would a second line of treatment choice be nutrition?
Well, I certainly think that it's a tool that could help to...
You're talking about fixing wrinkles.
Well,
You know?
I mean, they've actually shown in studies that zinc supplementation
Okay.
helps to... oral zinc can influence the effectiveness of antidepressant therapy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Really?
And yes.
So they're finding a connection between zinc, which,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I guess we all take zinc. Neil's got on to me about when I get sick, take your airborne stuff and what is it, zinc and calcium C in there and whatever. Yeah, zinc and vitamin C. He's a big believer when you're sick. That directly has been studied to increase the efficacy of SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors,
It says
antidepressants.
of antidepressant therapy.
Oh my gosh, that's a
Yeah, I'm not very up on my medications and exactly all
sorry.
the nuances with that.
SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors. But this is again got to be somewhat new.
Yes, and I mean nutritional supplementation has been they have been studying it in its effectiveness with helping as a tool in antidepressant for depression therapy and with other mental illnesses, and even with the use of medications, because I'm definitely not trying to discourage the use of medications,
Right.
but with compliance being oftentimes hard with medications, it's wonderful to have other tools that hopefully can be incorporated in the future to help improve clinical outcomes in these areas.
Okay. Boy, there's so much I want to talk to you about.
There's so much to talk about.
Right?
Yes.
I'm not joking when I say I probably am going to want to have you come back if you're willing, because we didn't even get to some of the things that I want to talk about, I think. But let's go just another minute or two here, and then I want to open it up to whatever you think is important, because I know you've got so much in your brain to share with us. And probably the question for that would be, so you can spin around in your mind, like, what advice would you give to people directly for their eating and wellness with nutrition? And I think I actually have an idea of what you might say. Mm-hmm. But before you do, what you're talking about there takes me back to, like, you're going to laugh at me, but there was a paper that I wrote in high school. I was proud of the name of this paper. And my teacher was so impressed with it. It was like an example for the class. It was like, hey, I got a great moment in high school because I wasn't a good student until I reached college, but I do digress. So the name of my paper, you want to know what it was? You have to say yes.
Please tell me.
America's unnecessary $billion supplement business. Yeah, something like that, right? I don't know if I'm saying it exactly, but it's pretty close. And the idea was we take all these vitamins, all these supplements, all of these things, and really you end up having really cool looking fluorescent pee, if I could say that, right? Like, of course, we're on a podcast. Neil's taught me I could say anything. So I thought of that as you were talking about supplements, and your zinc statement is amazing. So what about this world of supplements? Is it necessary? Is it not? Are we learning better how to use it? Like, what is this?
So they've even shown that all kinds of supplementation can be used to support mental health. For example, the supplementation of amino acids have been shown great improvements. For example, like tyrosine is the precursor, which is an amino acid, is a precursor for dopamine. And tryptophan, which is an amino acid, is a precursor for serotonin. So when these amino acids are supplemented, they can actually help in the formation of some of these missing neurotransmitters and therefore improve mental health and mood outcomes and calmness and well-being outcomes and things like that.
Holy cow. So, again, figuring this out together, what I hear you saying in some of the learning that humans are doing about amino acids specifically, and you mentioned a couple of cool ones, that are precursors, and that to me means building blocks of neurotransmitters.
Very good.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know about the problems that we have in the neurons, and we've talked about it on the show before, where dopamine and serotonin. Incidentally, we also recently learned a lot about gabapentin, which we don't do anything with gabapentin, and 80% of our brains run on gabapentin. Dr. Chepke taught us. Anyway, and so nutrition builds these.
Yes.
And if we don't pay attention to the amino acid structures in our nutrition and food, that literally might be a high contributor to a diagnosable condition. Can we go so far as to say that?
Yes, I think that if we're missing those components, those important building blocks, then certainly it's going to create a deficiency in those neurotransmitters.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And omega-3s are another very important concept.
Amino acids or?
The omega-3s are fatty acids.
Okay.
And our brain weighs about 3 pounds.
Okay.
And 60% is the fattiest organ in our body.
I know that.
Yes,
60%.
60%.
Because of my work with cannabis and teaching the kids that weed goes like directly to your brain into fatty tissues.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, yes. THC is a fat-soluble substance and goes to that as well, which also probably interacts with all the nutrients and stuff. But I interrupted you.
Yes. Okay, so we have the omega-3s that our brain is actually made of, it adds up to about a half a pound of omega-3 fatty acids in our brain, because 60 to 70% of our brain is made of fat.
Really?
And 30% of that 60 to 70% is specifically omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and EPA, which are the two omega-3 fatty acids that our brain is made of.
Do you have a favorite of the two?
Well, DHA.
You do? You answered that.
EPA makes DHA. It's a precursor, but it's also derived from your diet. 1, 2, 3s. Yes.
But no, what I take away from that is really, if what you say, it makes sense to me, right? 3 pounds, what'd you say? A half of a pound is something that we need to have replenished.
And that we get from our diets.
Which is fish.
Fish, nuts and seeds, and some leafy greens. Yes.
Y'all need to find a dietitian like this lady to work with, because what's funny is I was thinking about that as you just said that, and particular food choices, I might want to back up from that. You're teaching me to pay attention to what we eat and the choices with that to build that foundation. And it occurs to me that now you're teaching me more at the show with the omegas and the aminos and all the cool stuff that is in your head. But when I'm working with you, I don't need to know all that. I know that you have taught me to eat these freaking things, chia seeds, these flax seeds, these leafy greens, these different things that you add into your diet. Like I'm now putting kale in with my rice to cook things. This is like cool. So those all build in a fundamental way your body, which enables you to feel the way that you feel. Is that a fair...
I think that most people don't realize that the foods that we know that support our physical health also that help to support our mental health. But now there
This
are
is why I wanted to
specific
do this
foods-
show.
There's specific
Yeah.
foods that actually are brain boosting, like the omega-3s and the leafy greens and blueberries and red wine and chocolate, for example.
Oh, red wine.
Yes, 5
Merlot.
ounces a day of red wine is considered
Merlot.
beneficial for the brain.
Oh, do we still have that stuff going around? Is that true? Say that
Yes.
again. Okay, yeah.
It's very true, and recent evidence has again shown this. But it doesn't have to. If you're not a red wine drinker, you can have pomegranate juice.
I was just going to say, can you not get the same thing from grape juice, for crying out loud? Like, what are we talking about with
unsweetened
this?
pomegranate juice or grape juice. Yes.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
it's funny. I have had so many conversations with alcoholics over the years. And they're like, a little bit of alcohol is good for you every day. Look, I've heard that, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. But I got us away having fun with that a little bit. There are a lot of food choices to learn out there about that. We're not going to be able to cover them all today. But let me kind of turn it over. Would you believe we need to taxi in for a landing? Like, you've got to come back, will you please, sometime?
Absolutely.
All right.
I would very much like that.
So in a broad sense, in a big picture, what sort of advice would you try? I know this is going to be impossible broad for you. I apologize, but I don't know however else way to ask it. What advice would you give for people to generally begin in a simple way that they can take tangibly with them to really make a little bit of an impact into their process if this is so important as to their mental health?
Well, I would certainly say that even moderate applications of eating a diet that is rich in very nutrient-dense foods can have extremely positive impact. So it doesn't matter if it does matter because every bite counts, but don't stop if you find yourself indulging in foods that are maybe like highly processed or highly sugary foods. I think that it's just important to just accept that happened and just to get right back on your healthy eating plan and eat as many high quality, high nutrient dense foods that are really excellent for your body and for your brain as possible.
I love that. What I hear you
Yeah.
saying is look, lose the shame, be careful about the guilt. Like,
Yes, that's the worst thing you can do.
don't beat yourself up about
Don't.
this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a client just today that is in recovery, and they shared with me an experience they had with somebody in the rooms. And this person was celebrating an anniversary date or something, I don't know, but they brought in feathers, right?
Oh.
And they gave everybody in the meeting a feather. And she said, look, I know that we have a strong tendency with this disease and trouble with addiction. You can apply it to whatever you're dealing with in life, right? To simply beat ourselves up and to hammer ourselves and kind of, just be super critical and be full of shame and guilt and all these things. So she said, the next time you want to hit yourself with, a block or something, take this feather instead and lighten it up on yourself, right? Like, give yourself some grace and stop crushing your own spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
That's beautiful.
So we need to get out of here today. We're probably definitely going to have you back. I'm going to hold you to that at some point soon. Is there anything that you'd like to say in summary? And I want to say, before we lose it, Cyrilla Purnell is with Aspire Integrative Wellness. And seriously, they are awesome, and they are there to help you. They're out on McCulloch Street in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the North Carolina region as well. And if you don't have the local ability, find a dietitian in your local area. Like, you guys work with people just like you do in therapy. How cool is that, right? So in town here, they're 980-296-0044. And I'm sure Neil will have it on the show notes and stuff. What would you say in kind of closing and wrapping us up?
Well,
I put you on the spot.
I don't know what to say. I just think that the correlation between nutrition and mental health is so important and oftentimes unrecognized. So I think that the growing awareness there is going to really help people in the future in applications of clinical applications and in just how we choose our foods at home.
Right, right. Cool. I love that. Listen, I'll take us out of here by saying I hope that you are having, or when the show comes out, had a wonderful Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. We're in the holiday season. And it's also known that it's a very, very tough time for people, as well as a merry and jolly time. So that hopefully you begin to think about a positive relationship that you can develop with food in the new year. All these New Year's resolutions and everything that people are getting ready to renew themselves with, they are great, and I have no problem with them. I would have maybe a resolution for you to begin to listen to what Cyrilla has taught us with her amazing knowledge on this area. And you'll hear that she landed on, like, lose the shame. Be careful about the criticism of yourself. Be careful about the pain that you inflict on ourselves when we become so self-critical. Have some grace and enjoy a wonderful world of food. Like, it's an amazing relationship and community building. It's an amazing, awesome, and fun way to create palates and cravings for yourself that build your mental health. How's that sound for a New Year's resolution?
I love that, Chris.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very, very grateful for that. And guys, we'll see you soon. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll be riding with you through 2023. Take care and be well.